What's up, guys? Uh, as you can see, we're doing a TBR. All right, so this big stack of fine books right here is gonna be my TBR for 2024. This is like everything I haven't read yet. So these are my next coming up ones. I'm gonna tell you guys the series I'm reading currently right now, and I'm going to show you guys what I'm going to be reading very soon. The first book that my TBR that I'm currently reading right now, actually, and it's the series that I'm reading right now, is gonna be Golden Sun. Yeah, so this is the Red Rising trilogy. I know what y'all gonna say. I know what you guys gonna say. Oh my God, everybody talks about this book. Everybody talks about the trilogy. We get it. I don't care. I don't. This book right here, so far so good. I'm like on chapter 20 right now. It has a lot of if I was to compare it, it's like a Game of Thrones, the Red Wedding. Is it the Red Wedding? I forgot. It's one of the weddings, right? But yeah, this book is really good so far, so I can't wait to read the rest of it. So with that being said, then you guys already know what's up next after that. So up next after Golden Sun is obviously Morning Star. Yeah. I've heard from multiple people that Morning Star is actually way better than all the other books. So I heard Red Rising was like, Golden Sun's, oh, that's pretty good. And Morning Star was like, perfection, you know? Shout out to boy Smitty. He's the one that says that Morning Star is like the best of the trilogy. So I'm going to take his word for it. I've seen all his DVRs and all his videos. And honestly, but trust that man when it comes to sci-fi, because he's read so much more than I have, not gonna lie. Next on my TBR, which is, this was a kind of like way different than anything I've ever read before. It's very different, but I'm going to be reading it this month actually for my book club that I started with some friends and family. The next on my TBR is A Court of Thorns and Roses. I know. A lot of people say it's this is more of a girly type of book, but just because it has a female protagonist and like has some romance in it doesn't mean it's a girly book, you know? Sci-fi is for everybody. Books are for everybody, no matter what, you know? I'm going to read what I want to read, and everybody else is going to read what they want to read, and just enjoy the book. All right, next up on my TBR is I saw this on TikTok, I'm not going to lie, but I saw it but from this guy that was doing, I'll pull up his TikTok right now, but it was basically, he was basically saying that if I saw you reading these books out in public, this is what I would think, you know? And when he said this book, he was all like, it's one of his favorite books ever. There's no need to be said, you know, ever. That's a very big statement. Favorite book ever. So I decided to check it out. So Catch 22 by Joseph Keller. Read the synopsis real quick. It's basically about it's set in Italy during World War II. It's a story about an incompatible military bombardier named Yossarian, a hero who is furious because thousands of people he has never met are trying to kill him. But his real problem is not the enemy, it's his own army. Oh my God, I just voice cracked the crap out of myself. Anyways, but his real problem is not his enemy, it's his own army, which keeps increasing the number of missions the men must fly to complete their service. Yet if Yossarian makes any attempt to excuse himself from the perilous mission he's assigned, he'll be in a violation of Catch 22, a hilariously sinister bureaucratic rule. A man is considered insane if he willingly continues to fly dangerous combat missions, but if he makes a formal request to be removed from duty, he is proven sane and therefore ineligible to be relieved. Just by reading that, it just already sounds like it perks your ears, you know, like if you're a dog or anything. But yeah, that's gonna be my next one. I'm kind of excited for that one. It says it's a incoming Hulu series. So, all right, next up on my TBR is going to be another sci-fi. I'm a big sci-fi reader. Sci-fi is my thing, you know. I love sci-fi. I love fantasy. I love anything like that. Just like anything like high stakes too, you know. Like I love high stake fantasy. I like action. I like I'll read like regular novels as well, but sci-fi is my thing. So the next one on my TBR is Hyperion by Dan Simmons. Got this at Barnes & Noble. I saw this on a video about, I'm not gonna lie, I get a lot of my book recommendations from videos, but I mean, pretty sure everybody does. That's like the most common form of knowledge nowadays, you know. It's a winner of the Hugo Awards. So honestly, I've read multiple books from that won Hugo Awards, and honestly, I really like them. Like in the end, I end up really liking them. So basically, it's about a world called Hyperion. Beyond the reach of galactic law waits the creature called the Shrike. There are those who worship it, there are those who fear it, and there are those who are vowed to destroy it. In the Valley of the Time Tombs, where huge brooding structures move backwards through time, the Shrike waits for them all. On the eve of Armageddon, with the entire galaxy at war, 7 pilgrims set forth on a final voyage to Hyperion, seeking the answers to the unsolved riddles of their life. Each carries a desperate hope and a terrible secret, and one may hold the fate of humanity in his hands. So yeah, that one sounds really. I heard it's a very good sci-fi book. It's one of the classics, to be honest. So yeah, that's next up too. Another book on my TBR is honestly, I feel like this is a book that everybody talks about. I see it everywhere. I hear the hype about it all the time. I always hear hype about it, and so I decided, Namdi, you know what? This is one of the like most hyped books that I've seen on BookTube and Book Talk. I gotta give it a try. How am I gonna be the only one that's gonna start making videos and not have read it or have even the slightest knowledge of it? I've heard a lot of good things about this author. I've heard he's had multiple series that are very successful and very good. Like, well, you know what? Without further ado, I'm going to introduce it, and it's going to be none other than Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can see that. As you can see, it's a freaking humongous book. I decided to get the big one because I didn't want the small one. I didn't want the mass paperback one. I like to see the maps. I want to get it the full form, you know. But also, I read my books. I don't know where it's at right now, but I switch off a lot when it comes to reading. I read audio. I listen to audiobooks when I can't have the physical book on me, or I read Kindles when I have to go somewhere because I don't like taking my books everywhere because then they get messed up and they get like, I don't know. A lot of people like to have their books like shown with a little love, you know, like with creases and like shown that it's been worn a little bit, but I don't like that. I want my books pristine, you know. I like when my collection looks nice, you know, taken care of. Yeah, so I'm really excited to read down. Honestly, I might skip a lot of the books on my TBR just to get to the Brandon Sanderson one because I really want to read that one, Mistborn. There's other ones he has that I really want to get into. So next up on my TBR, I've heard a lot about this one too. Shout out to Smitty again. And I heard a lot of good things. I hear it's one of the best books. I hear it's brought people to tears and stuff, which is crazy because if I'm being honest, the only type of entertainment, the only type of show, movie, or book, any of those formats that's actually brought me to like tears, it's gonna be One Piece. One Piece, you cannot tell me, is the best series story I've ever heard in my life. And to be honest, anime is where I got my interest into fantasy, low key. Hot take, anime is probably like the best. Because to be honest, all the cartoons now in America are really, they're just comedy based. Like, you know, it's just like, oh, like the plot is like, just like, oh, let's go do something stupid. Like SpongeBob, I never really understood SpongeBob, you know? Like, it's funny. Yeah, there's moments that it's funny. Like, I get it. But like, what is it teaching you? You know, it's only putting like, oh, like it's putting like the ideas in kids' minds that like, oh, it's okay to be funny and stupid, you know, all the time. Anime, and every anime there is a goal that the main character is going after, and he will stop at nothing to achieve that goal. What better lesson to teach a kid that it's the best lesson you could teach a kid. Attack what your dream is and stop at nothing to achieve it, you know? That's what instills like a ambition in a kid, you know? That's what creates dreams, you know? So, I don't know. So, anyways, I don't know how I got off onto that point, but next up on my TBR, Sword of Kaigen. Very excited for that one. I heard it's kind of like from the synopsis that I read, it's kind of like it uses elements, kind of like Avatar: The Last Airbender. I don't want to compare it because obviously it's not the same thing, but I heard it uses the elements kind of like that. So I don't know. It says a Theonite war story. I love war stories. I love like what's the name? I love Saving Private Ryan. There's Hacksaw Ridge. I love those movies, man. So many war movies that I like. So the fact that a book says Theonite war story, it caught my attention immediately. So yeah. Next up is an actual novel. It's actually not fantasy. It's a classic and it's a banned book. It's banned in all schools, which is like, I don't know, like I feel like, does that not put like any alarm in anybody's head that there's books that are banned that are not being taught in school for like, and for what? Like, does anybody not ask why? Like, or is it just me? What is the point of banning these books? Are they teaching something that they don't want people to know? Like, I don't know. I feel like that doesn't just like wake people's eyes. That doesn't like open up people's eyes, you know? The next book up on my TBR is 1984 by George Orwell. Yep, I heard a lot of good things. I've actually had a coworker tell me at work, because I was reading on my Kindle, I was reading Golden Sun, and she asked me, I was like, she's like, what you reading? I was like, oh, I'm reading Golden Sun, and she's like, oh, I'm a big sci-fi I'm a big sci-fi nerd too, so I've heard about that one. She's currently reading Dune. But so far right now, she said that she's read 1984, and she told me a lot of good things about it. It's kind of like a what do they call it? A It's like a dystopian future where everything and everyone is constantly being under surveillance by this big thing called the brother. And I mean, if it's banned, connect the dots. Whatever. But anyways, another big series that's coming up on my TBR that I'm excited for too, because I know it's a classic. I know it's loved throughout the world, and I just have never gotten to it. I never even watched the movies for it. And no, I'm not talking about Harry Potter or Hunger Games or Maze Runner or Divergent series, like any of that. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about none other than The Lord of the Rings. Yeah, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. I have never read any of these books. I have never seen the movies. My cousin is a big movie enthusiast. He's told me a lot of good things about it, and I'm excited to get into it. Next on my TBR is The Three Body Problem. I don't know what else to say. It's a Netflix series. I was planning on watching it, but then I saw there was a book, and obviously the books are always better than the show, so I'm gonna read it. And I heard that there's like 3 or 4 books. So yeah. It's a winner of a Hugo Award. So, and yeah, I've gotten a lot of recommendations on it. So I bought it at Barnes and Noble, and literally the guy said, "Oh, good pick, bro. Good pick. You're gonna like this one." So, hey, if I get an like a IRL type of like, oh, like good shit, bro, I'm gonna go with it. Obviously, I'm gonna believe it. I kind of trust like the recommendations of other people when it comes to book. Because if you put the time in to read a book, like that means you got involved. You got really involved in the book, So that means the book, like you took the time to read the book, and if you enjoyed it, you enjoyed it. If you're gonna take the time to read something and you end up not liking it, you're not gonna recommend it to nobody. You're not gonna say nothing about it. You're not gonna take the time and the energy to tell someone, "Hey, good choose, bro." But yeah, and I also bought this one the same time I bought Three Body Problem, and that is Children of Time. Huge book. I've heard a lot of things about this one. I heard it's like a must-read sci-fi. So, hey, I'm going to get into it, I'm going to get into it. It's my thing. I'm going to read it, My last 2 TBRs are, one of them is a Penguin classic. And I'm really excited to read this one because I've heard massive things about this one. I don't know. It's a huge book. It's a huge book. I believe there's like 1,500 pages. But it's a Penguin classic. I'm excited to read it. I've heard good things about this. I heard there's even movies. So I plan on watching the movie when I finished the book, and it is none other than The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. Need I say more? Need I say more? Just at this point, if you never even heard of it, like, what are you doing? But I feel like a lot of Penguin classics are stuff that you grew up through school hearing about. You've at least heard once in your life, like A Tale of Two Cities. The Great Gatsby, like all that stuff, dude. That's like you can't miss it and I feel like it's in every high school, And my last TBR is a sci-fi book. Can you believe that? No, but I read the first book. It's a 6-book series. It is one of the biggest sci-fi series out there that I know of right now. There's 2 movies out on it right now, and that is Dune. But this is part 2, Dune Messiah. So this one takes place after the first 2 movies that have come out already. So I am excited to read it because I want to know what happens. I want to know what goes on after the movies, what's going on after the story that I've seen on screen, And I'm excited because they're already working on a part 3 for the movies, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be based off Dune Messiah. There's no other way, And it's supposed to take place 12. I think it's either 12 or 14 years in the future after the end of the second movie. So I'm really excited for that one. There's not a controversy. There's just a lot of like talk about Dune in the series itself. I've heard that Dune has inspired a lot of other sci-fi fantasy books. I've heard that Dune is just a bland sci-fi. It's just it's iffy, but I honestly enjoyed the first book. It took me like 2-3 weeks to read it though. It was a thick book, but I love the fact that they have like, I don't want to say encyclopedia, but they have information in the back that brings you more knowledge about the culture, the planet, the ecosystem. Like, it's just crazy the amount of world building there is behind this series, So, yeah, this is my TBR for the last quarter of 2024. I'm gonna do a fall TBR because I don't feel like a lot of these books are like fall, like they're like a fall feeling or winter feeling, you know. So I'm gonna do one on that gives me like fall vibes, that gives me winter vibes, you know. I'm gonna do something like that. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give a thumbs up if you liked. Comment, tell me which books you guys recommend. Tell me if you guys are reading any of these books, you know. If you got any recommendations, got any ratings on these books, please give it to me. Please tell me your opinions and everything. I want to hear it all, you know. Share this. Let's get that ball rolling with Booktube, with book talk and everything, man. Let's do it. Appreciate you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next one. All right.